Before this, there was this, and before this, there was this, and yes, even before this, there was this. But how did we get from one to another? And what made them so indelible to be honored with such a skimpy Halloween costume? And weren't there more like them? Who survived the franchise wars of the 1980s? Today, we're opening the envelope and looking deeper into popular franchises that came from greeting cards. Next up on PopCon.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Welcome to the show. This is PopCon, a salute to all pop culture, but mostly the 80s. I'm your host, Victor, and we're diving deep into the 80s and the popular franchises that populated it. Some IPs or intellectual properties have survived the test of time, and others weren't so lucky. We're looking at both, but today's pop conversation is about a very specific and small group of these franchises that didn't come from the same stock as their counterpart. They came on cardstock. Most of us are keenly aware that at one time there was just cartoons and just toys. Rarely did they ever feed off each other in any sort of symbiotic relationship. Unlike this former model, where popular television shows might spin off licensed toys, clothing, or consumer goods, the era of excess ushered in a new model and answered the age old question: what came first, the cartoon or the action figure? Come to find out, in the 80s, it was the action figure that came first, and the television show followed. And that cartoon was meant to serve the injected molded plastic that was being created left and right. Designed to support the source material and keep it alive on the toy shelf peg, the toy company was oozing with creativity. But these ideas were expensive and they weren't yet tried in the marketplace. To protect their investment and assure its success, they needed the accompanying media that would tie the storylines together and sell it to the mass market disguised as Saturday morning or after school cartoons. Sometimes the source material that was supported by the cartoon wasn't for an action figure or a doll. Sometimes the multimedia was there to increase the visibility and the profitability of an already successful property, one that didn't start as a toy, but as a drawing. Where most action figure lines and accompanying media were born from toy company boardrooms and advertising executive partnerships, this subgenre of intellectual property to hit the shelves were already on the shelves. They were just in two dimension. Characters who were part of a very exclusive club. Small and mighty, the only requirement was that they existed solely based on the fact that they were born of greeting cards. These fan favorites won over public opinion and leapt off the cardstock of your local Hallmark store and into your hot little hands, and then onto your TV screens and even into the movie theaters. And even with their small numbers, they joined the ranks of an army of other popular franchises who might have been from the other side of the tracks, but played well together, and they still do today. Let's get started, shall we? And let's start with a winner. Although there are some conflicting stories, a cute old-fashioned styled girl with strawberries on her dress and holding a daisy debuted in 1973 on an American Greetings greeting card by artist Barbie Sargent. As popular as she was, additional designs were added, and she was deemed Strawberry Patches. These designs started to refine the color palette, focus on the berries and her cat, Custard. At the same time, Bernie Loomis of Kenner had acquired the licensing to Star Wars and was looking for a girl-centric brand to focus on. Seeing Patches, he jumped at the idea, and a doll was ordered. Muriel Farion and $1,000 was what it took to kick off the design of the new line, and Muriel worked on finalizing the doll. It was a rag doll that first appeared on the shelves in 1979 and was renamed Strawberry Shortcake due to trademarking. Additional characters were soon created to flesh out the line, and a backstory was edited to help sell it. Each character was named after a fruit dessert theme with clothing to match. They also included their own signature pet, and most importantly, the novel gimmick of the line that sold it: their hair was scented to match the dessert. This idea had never been done before and helped to cement their immediate success. Characters like Huckleberry Pie, Orange Blossom, Blueberry Muffin, Lemon Meringue, Tea and Honey, Plum Pudding, Butter Cookie, and Crepe Suzette lived in Strawberry Land. There had to be a villain too, as of all 80s franchises dictate. The peculiar Purple Pie Man of Porcupine Peak, try saying that 3 times fast. Referring to himself in the third person, he often employed a tap dance and chanting an old and odd fanfare while doing so. The excitement for the line meant it traveled abroad, but one character almost missed the boat: Raspberry Tart was almost denied entry to England due to tart being a euphemism for a prostitute. But Shortcake was too strong, and Tart joined her friends without a name change. As was with the time with all popular products, this original drawing had jumped off the card and onto dozens and dozens of other products like sticker albums, clothing, bedding, storybooks, and even an Atari video game. Success in the 80s was measured in your multimedia presence, and in 1980 and 82, the first TV specials were created by Toei Animation. In 1984 and 85, another two were made by Nelvana of Canada. Sadly, the sugar rush must have been too much, and her popularity waned after the last TV special and a huge cavity was created at Kenner. Nothing new was produced for this line after 1985. The Strawberry season must have had some frosts, because the reboots took time to take root, and were rare. With a slight makeover in 1991, this version enjoyed minimal success, but it was the 2002 reboot that kicked off the refresh of the brand that would keep us on our toes. New look and licensing deals along with TV and video series. 2003 added fillies to the line, giving the characters each their own equine friend. 2006 continued the trend with a new toy line by Playmates and a feature film, The Sweet Dreams Movie. Playmates lost out to Hasbro, which took over in 2009, and that year Shortcake received a fruit-forward makeover. Considering the increasing criticism that connects character marketing to the consumption of fast foods and unhealthy snacks, it seemed inevitable that the evolution would mean less emphasis on sugary desserts and more on healthy fruits. American Greetings rebooted the franchise, and that meant Hasbro lost manufacturing rights for toys. Finally, they sold the rights for only $105 million, and then another takeover for $345 million gave the rights to DHX Media, the last incarnation being the 2008 CGI reboot. Yikes. Shortcake is renowned for her part in the beginning of a strong female character representation in media. Girls who are pursuing rather than being pursued, Strawberry Shortcake and others are not token female members of a male gang, with Huckleberry Pie in the usual role reversal as the token male character. And they are not drawn in overtly sexualized caricatures of adult women, repeated since Betty Boop. Strawberry Shortcake is as self-assured as she is sweet. She is also the first television show aimed specifically at girls. Male characters had always been preferred in the media, the assumption being that girls would watch boys' programming, but not the other way around. Toys were the linchpin, but there was also apparel, books, decor, gifts, sporting goods, and housewares. She was everywhere. She was big, and she was perfectly orchestrated, as you can see by her staying power. Who remembers our gang? I'm talking the Little Rascals. Yes, they too found themselves a short-lived animated 80s experiment. But as the story goes, the little anthropomorphic animal characters of Green Meadows were loosely based on those classic Hollywood serials of the 1930s. American Greetings hit it big again with the Getalong gang in 1983 as a cast of 12 characters on greeting cards and storybooks. Muriel Farion of Strawberry Shortcake fame had her hand in this classic piece of nostalgia, along with many of the staff artists at the company. Concentrating on the importance of teamwork and friendship, their success on the greeting card meant a Saturday morning TV series was in the works. Only one season was created and first run between 1984 and 1985. A more extensive pilot was made from Nelvana with all 12 characters, but the remainder of the series was made by Deke and only had the following core 6 characters with an occasional visit from the turtle: Montgomery Good News Moose, Wolma, Dottie, Bingo, Zipper, and Portia, and as the theme song tells, they run the club operations out of an old train caboose. The others were seldom used as background characters. The villains were, of course, the likes of a crocodile and a snake. The brief series spawned a large range of merchandise and spin-off projects, including stuffed toys and action figures made by Tomy, and a series of storybooks published by Scholastic Press. The Tomy action figure line and the books actually lasted longer than the Deke cartoon series. And in the end, at the end of the series, the popularity had pooped, and although 2 more characters were added to the dwindling greeting card line, it could not stop the inevitable. The series was the product of an era in the 1980s when television watch groups held great influence over children's programming, demanding that shows intended for young viewers emphasize positive values rather than violence or conflict. Consequently, critics of the series accused it of enforcing the importance of group harmony over individualism. This could have been its downfall. In mid to late 1985, the toy and greeting card sales began to decline, the first sign of the gang's popularity waning. A few products, plastic figures, greeting cards, and coloring books were released, with Hocus Hare and Pocus Possum joining at the tail end of the gang's run. The greeting card, toy line, and U.S. bi-monthly comic book series had all ended by 1987. In 2004 and 2005, with American Greetings still having the rights, a reimagining was planned, even with a CGI pilot in development, but nothing materialized. And so the gang was told to get, and became the Getalong gang. Although first seen in a painting for an American Greetings greeting card in 1981, the franchise for which would be remembered launched in 1983 to the general public, with toys being licensed for production that same year by both Parker Brothers and Kenner. They were among the 26 total licensees who helped bring the cuddly balls of fluff to life in every imaginable incarnation. To complement the launch of the Care Bears at the 1983 Toy Fair in New York City, Kenner president Bernie Loomis mounted a major Broadway-style production at a cost of roughly $1 million. The same guy that picked Strawberry Patches was doing it again, but with a bear. Shortcake actually made an appearance to introduce these young new cubs. But how do you make a teddy bear different? Muriel Farion had her way with the bears. Coming off of the high from sniffing Strawberry Shortcake, she would continue the saccharine train with the first 6 bear characters, using greeting card themes from their belly graphics. Her sister would make the first plush, but it was illustrator Elena Kucherik who became the primary artist for the Care Bears, creating hundreds of full-color illustrations for cards, books, and various licensed products. The project was secret until advertising was ready for release. The 10 original Care Bears consisted of Bedtime Bear, Birthday Bear, Cheer Bear, Friend Bear, Funshine Bear, Good Luck Bear, Grumpy Bear, Love-A-Lot Bear, Tenderheart Bear, and Wish Bear. Whew! Each with a unique corresponding belly design that evoked a whole or part of an emotion. Think the rump designs for the 80s rival My Little Pony, but dead center on the belly. American Greetings was able to secure a patent on these toys based on the graphic designs of their bellies. It were these 10 that appeared in the first TV incarnation, a syndicated special, The Care Bears in the Land Without Feelings. It was in no way to save the brand, but keep it ever-changing when in 1984, American Greetings introduced the Care Bear Cousins. They didn't live in Care-a-Lot, like their Bruin buddies, but this menagerie of creatures lived in the Forest of Feelings. Some of these stars were Brave Heart Lion, Lots of Heart Elephant, Cozy Heart Penguin, and Bright Heart Raccoon. In the narrative devised by those characters, the Care Bears lived in a giant castle and went out on missions of caring. Their ultimate weapon? The Care Bear Stare, in which the collected bears stand together and radiate light from their respective tummy symbols. These combine to form a ray of love and good cheer, which could bring care and joy into the target's heart. What can I say? As one designer recalled in early 1985, it had a high "aww" factor. A year later, the Care Bears and the Care Bear Cousins appeared in another animated film, The Care Bears Movie. It became the highest-grossing animated film made outside the Disney market at the time. Later that autumn, Deke released an 11-episode television series, and Columbia Pictures released the sequel in 1986. The Care Bears Family premiered in 1986 on TV and lasted 3 seasons consisting of over 70 episodes. Finally, more development to the Care Bears were introduced, with issues such as conflict and depression being addressed through the characters themselves. Wrapping up the first generation, or G1 Care Bears, was a third movie in 1987 and a TV special in 1988. Over 40 million Care Bears were sold between 1983 and 1987, and American Greetings printed over 70 million of their cards during the decade. In a whole, the sales of this merchandise reached over 2 million during the 80s. The Care Bears never vanished, and although a minor tweaking in 1991 went unnoticed, in 1999, with lackluster sales, the franchise was sold for less than $1 million, and 3 years later, in 2002, they busted out all over again with some minimal changing in color and belly designs, including a milkshake changed to lollipops for Share Bear, because sharing like that shares germs. They would blow up on the marketplace once again with their cousins by their side, and 2 new CGI feature films. This was also the one and only time a cousin became a bear, and then reverted back to a cousin. Proud Heart became a patriotic bear of white fur before returning to a cat of a new color with original belly design. Talk about personality disorder. In 2007, the Bears barreled out again, and this time, American Greetings redesigned them for their 25th anniversary. They would star in a new TV series and film. 15 of the 39 Bears were represented in this new look, but there were no cousins in sight. This was not as successful as they hoped. But by 2009, Hasbro was master toy maker for the franchise, and American Greetings did plan the 2012 reboot. It was their 30th anniversary, and a new series would run for 2 seasons before being canceled. That is when streaming took over and created 2 6-episode seasons in 2015 on Netflix. Finally, in 2019, a new series of 48 11-minute regular episodes, 2 20-minute specials, and 20 shorts debuted. And in 2020, the new line was revealed around the world. When it comes to toys, having an original was important. I'm talking to you, knockoffs. To avoid a cheap look-alike, a Tushy tag was created by emblazing a heart-shaped button on their rear ends to identify them as official Care Bears. In speaking to their longevity, for the 2019 International Day of the Girl, humanitarian organization CARE had celebrities design one-of-a-kind Care Bears and place them up for auction to benefit the charity. Sophia Bush based Justice Bear on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. How can Hanna-Barbera go wrong? Hallmark didn't think it could and took a successful greeting card design, picturing adorable animals wearing shirts with words and phrases on them, and prepared them for mega stardom. Debuting in 1980 on the shelves of Hallmark, these character designs by Janet Elizabeth Manco were some of the best sellers. Their shirt phrases telling people exactly what the card giver wanted you to hear. Hallmark teamed with Hanna-Barbera to adapt the t-shirt wearing cuddly creatures into a Saturday morning TV series. Unlike the Getalong gang, there was some steam in Shirt Tales, and they lasted 3 seasons and followed similar Hanna-Barbera show formats, including solving crimes, even having a primate character named Bogey, complete with Humphrey Bogart's sound-alike voice. The characters lived in Oak Tree Park and wore bright shirts that lit with messages reflecting the characters' thoughts or actions. There was Tig Tiger, Pammy Panda, Digger Mole, Rick Raccoon, and of course, Bogey. Keeping their crime-fighting identities away from anyone but the commissioner character, no one knew of their side hustle, not even Mr. Dinkle, the caretaker, who they often tricked to get out of the park. Like the Getalong gang, the fate of the greeting cards for Shirt Tales was sealed at the end of the cartoon run, proving the case that having the multimedia to help spread the word and sell the merchandise was vital. Without it, keeping it alive, it would wither on the vine. On March 23, 1985, Shirt Tales was pulled from broadcast television for good, and the Hallmark franchise faded not long after as well. Who needs to start with a greeting card? Go right for the jugular. Fashion a rainbow-colored little girl astride her horse, protecting the colors of the universe, and strategize her for immediate licensing deals and stellar success in every possible form. Yes, greeting cards, but dolls, storybooks, figures, stickers, and a full-length movie too. Created in 1983 to get into the licensing business from the get-go and hopefully mirror the success of the Care Bears from American Greetings, both Hallmark's Vice President of Creative Licensing, Gary Glissmeyer, and a team of artists headed by Cheryl Kozad orchestrated Rainbow Bright for that sole purpose from the beginning, even creating Rainbow Bright style books for companies that wanted to make Rainbow Bright items under license. A series Bible and style guides are very much the norm and expected in today's market, but was still in its infancy at the time. Rainbow Bright made her animated debut in the syndicated primetime television special Perils in the Pits, which first aired in June 1984. Later, a pair of 2-part specials were produced, The Mighty Monstromerc Menace and The Beginning of Rainbow Land. That same year, they licensed toys to Mattel, and Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealer was released by Warner Brothers in 1985. The 2-part special became part of Deke's weekly syndicated block of programming starting in April 1986 and were followed up with 8 more episodes for a total of 13, which is 1 season in American television. In Gen 1 continuity, and most of the franchise's backstory, a young girl named Wisp is brought to a gray, desolate land with a mission to bring color to this fictional world by locating the Sphere of Light. Along the way, she befriends a furry sprite named Twink and a magnificent horse named Starlight, and finds a mysterious baby who turns out to be the key to her mission. With the help of her new friends, Wisp locates the legendary Color Belt, rescues the 7 Color Kids who have been trapped by the King of Shadows. Using the Color Belt, Wisp and the Sphere of Light defeat the King of Shadows, liberate the sprites, and bring color and beauty to the land, henceforth being known as Rainbow Land. Wisp is renamed Rainbow Bright in honor of her new role as the leader of the Color Kids, who are together in charge of all the colors of the universe. Each Color Kid is in charge of their respective color. Red Butler, Lala Orange, Canary Yellow, Patio Green, Buddy Blue, Shy Violet, Indigo, and Tickled Pink. Is it just me? Or is it every time I think of the Color Kid Red Butler and his caped ensemble, I see this? Rainbow Bright and the Color Kids' missions is often complicated by the likes of 700-year-old Murky Dismal, voiced by the great Frank Welker, along with his sidekick Lurky, and other villains round out the baddies. Turning the token female trope on its ear, this entire line was female, but decisions were made to make Indigo and Red Butler 2 males from original female characters. And like a rainbow, there was no end. It just kept going and going and going. Generation 2 continuity took a radical departure from any other generation, focusing more on the ethnic diversity than just the colors of the rainbow. Generation 3 was basically a relaunch of Generation 1, but in 2003, with the same story, but a smaller range of characters. Generation 4A celebrated the 25th anniversary of Rainbow Bright in 2009, with continuity returning the setting again to Rainbow Land, which looked nothing like the original. These dolls had a more mature fashion doll design, which was totally unlike all the previous dolls in the series. The line suffered a delay, which caused the toys to not be available until after the holiday season that year. It was scarce distribution as retailers were not impressed with it, and it was canceled after just 7 months. Hallmark's Generation 4B animated reboot in 2014 retained most of the Generation 1 story elements and recognizable, but not identical. Generation 4B consisted solely of web content from Hallmark and only resulted in a minuscule amount of giveaway merchandise. None of the items were available for purchase. Hallmark still owns the rights, and Generation 5 began in 2015, with dolls and toys very similar to those of Generation 1 and 3. Hallmark worked on the design, storylines, distribution, and sales, which have so far been limited to Hallmark shops in the United States and Canada, and the Hallmark website. If there is an end to this rainbow, there is certainly a pot of gold waiting there. There you have it. Characters who are all like greeting card messages that never have to leave your side, as long as your parents buy you the plush or the ragdoll or the figurine of your favorite. With all due respect, this tiny band of characters from various franchises lived alongside monolith-sized intellectual properties of the time, and they even live today. Some more than others. But who is the clear winner of the greeting card character cavalcade? I suppose it should be both by longevity and cultural impact, and although I'm not polling anyone, I think we have a clear winner. The envelope, please. Thank you. And the winner is the Care Bears. The theme of missions of sharing, loving, and caring should never go out of fashion. To understand them, Tom Engelhardt said it best in his 1986 essay, The Shortcake Strategy, referring to the Care Bears as highly specialized toys. So specialized are they that instead of being complex individual personalities, they are no more than carefully labeled fragments of a personality. Together, they must engage in a series of specialized interventions as complex as those of any real-life medical unit. Although the greeting card companies had moderate success with some additional IPs like My Pet Monster, Popples, and Madballs, there's nothing that will ever replace the emotional impact of a simple teddy bear with a heart on. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you liked the show. This is PopCon, powered by GX, and we will continue to bring great content to you. So join our pop conversations about the impact of popular culture on each other and our society. Please share this video, leave a comment, tell me what you'd like to hear, and I'd love to make it for a future show. And always remember, LSN, like, subscribe, notify. So until next time,